This is the Royal Kludge RK M3. It's a newly released lightweight gaming mouse, but is it worth it? Let's find that out. But before we get into the video, I do want to mention that this mouse was sent out to me by Royal Kludge, but I am not being paid and every opinion given is mine and mine alone. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. So when first opening the box, you'll obviously see the mouse itself wrapped in a nice soft plastic bag. At the bottom of the box is another box with a few accessories, like the 2.4 GHz dongle, the skates that go in the bottom of the mouse that for some reason you have to install yourself, One thing you should make sure you do before using the mouse is take off all the plastic on the skates. The next accessory is this decently long USB-C to USB-A cable. And lastly, a manual. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into the build of the Royal Kludge RK M3. The entire shell of the RK M3 is made from a relatively thin plastic. This allows the mouse to be a very impressive 47 grams, which is decently lighter than some of the most popular lightweight gaming mice. The overall structural integrity of the mouse is decent, but when putting a lot of pressure on the shell, it will bend a little bit. But it's very unlikely that this will ever affect you. It's just something to keep in mind. The shape of the shell is very comfortable for my time using it. It's more of a pebble shape, which makes using a palm grip super comfortable. I personally use a fingertip grip, and it's just as comfortable as using a palm grip. I do kind of wish that where my thumb rests was a bit more indented, but that's just kind of a nitpick. One thing that I did notice when using the mouse is that the shell kind of retains fingerprints a lot. I don't really know what they could have done to prevent that since it's black plastic, but it's just a little annoying. The main switches on the RK M3 are very clicky and not mushy or sticky at all. They also make a more deep sounding click than I'm really used to. Above them are obviously the switch covers. They're smooth, as is the entire mouse, and have a less curved and more flat shape to them, as you can see. From my time using this mouse, I really don't have any complaints with the switches or the covers. The scroll wheel on the RK M3 is quite nice. It's a lot smoother and easier to use with less resistance than I'm used to with other mice, but I personally kind of like that. It's got a nicely textured rubber on it, which makes it comfortable to use as well, and when clicking it in, it feels super responsive and clicky. Behind the scroll wheel is a little light that's used to show which DPI level you're at with their correlated color, which can be changed using the separate toggle button on the bottom of the mouse, and as well as that, it also shows the battery life when charging, turns red when the mouse is about to die, and briefly turns green after it connects to a device. I do wish that instead of it being a light at the top and a toggle button at the bottom, that they were just combined and it was just a button on the top with a light on it. I think that would be a bit more convenient, but it's not how it is, and I don't think it really matters because I don't really change my DPI that much. Since I briefly mentioned the battery with the light on the top of the mouse, let me quickly go over that. The battery on the RK M3 is a decent 650 milliamp hours, which from my experience is actually really good and lasts a long time, needing to charge it every 4 or 5 days of relatively heavy use. Actually, slight correction. Since I recorded that part, it's actually been a decent while longer using the mouse, and it's been about a week since I actually fully charged this mouse, and I've been using it like really heavily, gaming, working, doing everything, and it hasn't even died yet. In fact, in the software, it says it's like 3/4 the way full, so when it comes to battery, this mouse is very good. It can be charged using the USB-C port on the front of the mouse, but can also be used wired through that same port. On the left side of the mouse is a Royal Kludge logo, as well as 2 secondary buttons. By default, those 2 buttons bring you forward and back in your browser, but if you'd like, you can change their inputs to really whatever you want through the Royal Kludge web software. Personally, I just keep them default and then change their binds in certain games. The buttons themselves protrude decently far out, making them super hard to miss, and just like all the other buttons on the mouse, are super clicky and satisfying to use. Moving down to the bottom of the mouse is the PAW3950 sensor, which is very good, especially for gaming. From my time using the RK M3, this sensor has been extremely responsive and accurate, and hasn't lost tracking a single time. It has a max DPI of 42,000 and an 8,000 Hz pulling rate. Having that high of a pulling rate allows the RK M3 to have a really impressive 0.25 millisecond response time, which is very impressive, especially for mice in this price range. However, if you'd prefer to use a different pulling rate for either to save battery or for any other reason, you can customize the pulling rate from 125 Hz to 8,000 Hz in the web software that I mentioned before. Along with the DPI toggle button, on the bottom of the RK M3 is a switch which can be used to change between using the mouse through the 2.4 GHz dongle, the Bluetooth 5.3 connection, which can be paired to really any device, but can also be turned off or be put in the wired mode. The skates on the bottom of the mouse are made from what I can assume is plastic, and are actually surprisingly good. They have a really good amount of glide and hasn't scraped or got caught at all. Here's a really quick glide test if you're interested. With all that being said, there's also a couple cool features in the Royal Kludge software that I wanted to highlight, like the glass mode, which can make the sensor track better on a glass mousepad, or the sensor modes, which can prioritize the battery life with a trade-off of response time with the office mode, or the gaming mode, which Royal Kludge says puts the sensor and main control in their most active modes with faster response times, but with the trade-off for more power consumption, which means lower battery life. The Royal Kludge RK M3 comes in at a very impressive price of $60, which makes it a really good option even if you're on a budget. And you also have an option between the black version, which I have, and the white version. Personally, I've genuinely really enjoyed my time with this mouse, and I think you will too. But is it worth your money? That's up to you to decide. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope to see you in the next videos.